Hello again, you're tuning in to VNA News Daily Bulletin. Coming up next, we have your top stories. Vietnam boosts ties with Belgian European parliaments. Vietnam attracts $11.2 billion in foreign direct investment. Mural art revitalizes fishing village in central Quảng Nam province. Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc hosted separate receptions in Hanoi on June 29th for the outgoing Myanmar and Swedish ambassadors to Vietnam. More in the following report. Receiving Myanmar Ambassador Win Heliang, Prime Minister Phúc spoke highly of the diplomats' positive contributions to enhancing the traditional friendship and multifaceted cooperation between the two nations. Having affirmed that Vietnamese businesses have paid due attention to the Myanmar market, the Prime Minister called on Myanmar to create more favorable conditions for them. The Myanmar ambassador noted the strong development in bilateral relations, especially in economic and trade cooperation. He promised to contribute further to Myanmar-Vietnam ties in any position he holds in the future. At the reception for Swedish Ambassador Camilla Melander, Prime Minister Phúc congratulated the diplomat on successfully accomplishing her tenure in Vietnam, thus contributing to the traditional relationship between Vietnam and Sweden. He stressed that Sweden is an important partner of Vietnam and is assisting the country in fields of hunger eradication and poverty reduction, healthcare, energy, judicial reform, and rural development. While noting that Vietnam is sparing no effort to improve its business and investment environment, Prime Minister Phúc said he expects more Swedish companies will invest in the Southeast Asian country. Ambassador Melander believed that trade and investment ties between Sweden and Vietnam will develop strongly in the coming years, especially after the EU-Vietnam trade agreement becomes effective. As part of his visit to Belgium and the EU, National Assembly Vice Chairman Uông Chu Lưu met with officials of the Belgian and European parliaments. Our reporters in Brussels will bring more details.
At a meeting with President of the Belgian Chamber of Representatives, Fred Bracker, on June 28th, Vice Chairman Liu said Vietnam holds Belgium's government and parliament to accelerate the ratification of the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement. Fred Bracker said the two countries should expand ties, especially in culture, education and training. He said he was interested in Vietnam's efforts to promote economic reform and gender equality. During the meeting on the same day, President of the Senate, Christine de Venne, showed her support for enhanced links between legislative bodies of the two nations and bilateral ties in general. Vice Chairman Liu spoke highly of meetings, visits and coordination at international forums between the two countries, suggesting the parliament's speeding up cooperation at bilateral and multilateral forums. On the same day, the Vice Chairman met with European Parliament Vice President Dimitrios Papadimoulis. During the meeting, the two officials discussed ways to step up the Vietnam-EU relations and the two sides' legislative bodies in particular.
The Foreign Investment Agency has reported that the total foreign direct investment registered in Vietnam in the first half of 2016 exceeded $11.2 billion, a rise of 105% against the same period last year.
Of the total, $7.5 billion came from 1,145 newly licensed projects, representing a yearly increase of 95% in capital and 56% in the number of projects. The remainder was contributed by 535 operating projects that had raised their capital by more than $3.78 billion, a 129% year-on-year increase. Disbursement of FDI surged to an estimated $7.25 billion in the 6-month period, a year-on-year rise of 15%.
will be expanded.
Manufacturing and processing industries continue to be the top sector, receiving $8.06 billion, comprising 71% of the total registered FDI. The sector attracted 488 newly registered projects, and 405 existing projects increased the capital. The sector was followed by the real estate sector, with 25 projects holding total capital of $604.8 million, accounting for 5.3% of the total FDI. From January to June, 61 countries and territories invested in Vietnam. The Republic of Korea remained the leading investor with $3.99 billion, 35% of the FDI pledged to the country. Japan was a runner-up with $1.22 billion, or 10% of the FDI. Singapore followed with $1.1 billion, accounting for another 10% of the total FDI.
Vietnam has continuously been listed among the world's top 30 attractive emerging retail markets since 2008. The ranking was released by the U.S. A.T. Kearney Company. From 2011 to 2015, Vietnam saw a continuous growth in retail turnover with $111 trillion, accounting for 76.2% of the total retail and consumption value. However, many market research companies and experts forecast the retail market of Vietnam see great prospects for high growth in the future, driven by a population of 91.7 million with high consumption demands. For the first 5 months this year, Vietnam's total retail sales and services revenue reached $63.4 billion, a year-on-year increase of 9.1%. Meanwhile, the purchasing power of good retailers witnessed high growth of 9.5% in the period, amounting to $48.5 billion, accounting for 2/3 of the total retail sales and services revenue. Vietnam's export value of timber and woodwork products is expected to reach $7.4 billion, $200 million less than the target set for the sector this year.
The Vietnam Wood and Forestry Products Association said the figure slightly inched down by 0.1% to $3.17 billion in the first half of 2016, compared to the same period last year. The association said Brexit will have little impact on the quantity of Vietnamese woodwork products to the UK, but would drag down the export prices by between 5 and 7% due to the depreciation of related currencies. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development reported Vietnam achieved a total export value of wooden products at $7.1 billion in 2015, 8% higher than 2014. Wooden chairs, bedroom, outdoor and office furniture constitute 4 key export categories. The 3 largest export markets of the commodities are the US, Japan and China, accounting for almost 68% of the total export value.
Vietnamese military-run telecom group Viettel has won 1 gold and 2 bronzes at the 11th annual 2016 IT World Awards that took place in San Francisco, the U.S.
The group won golds for Viettel Financial Inclusion Bank Plus service in the category for Asia Pacific. The 2 bronzes were for Viettel Anti-Spam version 2 and Viettel Billing and Customer Care System version 2 in the category of IT products and services for telecommunications. Viettel Deputy Director General Dong Viet Trung said the recognitions helps reinforce the human-centered development orientation of the group. As of March 2016, the number of subscribers of the Viettel Bank Plus service reached 2.8 million, with nearly 4 million transactions worth $145 million made a month. For the first half of this year, the anti-spam service has helped block over 93.5 million spam text messages or 550,000 messages per day.
The World Bank has approved a loan of $90 million to help Vietnam strengthen its climate change and green growth agenda.
The World Bank Vietnam said Together with the Mekong Delta Integrated Climate Resilience and Sustainable Livelihoods Project, the financing marks a new stage in the bank's support for Vietnam when the country is focusing on inclusive green growth and eliminating risks in climate change response. The financing is the first of the 3 credits that will back climate change and green growth policy actions under the Vietnamese government's support program to respond to climate change, led by the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources. The credits will be expanded on the implementation of policies to improve integrated coastal zone planning and management, public investment benefiting climate change and green growth, water resource protection and greater water use efficiency, and coastal forest plantation. They will also be used to support policies in transportation, industrial production, energy saving and renewables that mitigate greenhouse gas emissions.
Vietnam is striving to have nearly 25% of communes nationwide meeting the criteria for New Star rural areas later this year. The following report will provide more details. Accordingly, localities were urged to upgrade infrastructure, particularly in poor and especially disadvantaged communes, promote manufacturing by value chain to ensure hygiene and adapt to climate change, while putting forward mechanisms to improve the rural environment. Figures from the Central Steering Committee for the National Target Program on New Rural Construction show that as many as 1,965 communes nationwide, or 22% of the total, have achieved new rural area status, up 4.9% from late 2015. 23 wards nationwide have been granted the status. 10 others are preparing documents to submit to the Prime Minister for consideration. This year, the country plans to raise more than $11.9 billion for the program, including over $328 million from the state budget. As of January 31, 2016, the total debt for basic construction in the program amounted to $69 million, as reported by 52 out of 62 cities and provinces nationwide. "40 artworks by the Hanoi Young Artists Club are on display at 16 Ngo Quyền Exhibition House. Let's take a look.
The exhibition titled Hand in Hand aims to gather artists, including newcomers and veterans, to meet and display their latest and best artworks. It features 20 artists under 30 and 20 artists less than 35 years. At the exhibition, the artists are encouraged to showcase experimental works. The artists can do what they want: installation, performance, painting, and sculpture. It is an opportunity for young artists to express themselves easily, explore and try new ideas. The club has a biannual exhibition held in March and June every year. The exhibition is at 16 Ngo Quyền Street, Hanoi until July 4th.
A humble coastal village in Tam Kỳ City in the central province of Quảng Nam has been wearing a new coat with vivid murals as part of the Korea Foundation Community Art Exchange Program.
In early June, Chung Thang village in Tam Thang commune was chosen for an art project as part of the program jointly held by the Korea Foundation and UN Habitat Vietnam to embellish the local living environment and bring art to the public. Under the project, 11 artists and volunteers from the Republic of Korea and many Vietnamese students gave the walls of about 100 houses a new face. More than 70 paintings reflect the lives of the local people, as well as the cultural exchanges, solidarity, and friendship between the two countries. The mural village of Chung Thang, the first of its kind in Vietnam, is based on popular mural villages in the Northeast Asian country.
And that has wrapped up our news bulletins. Thanks for watching and goodbye.